So it's a little bit about locations. I think this is not super important. The only thing that's relevant is if you were to ever accompany somebody to a courthouse. Inside the courtroom, you usually can't record, but I have personally not heard of very many people getting detained inside courtrooms, and certainly not in the state of Rhode Island. You can record anywhere on public property, and then if ICE were inside the church, I would, like, you just have to have the permission of whoever owns the property to record, and I would assume that it would be fine to record inside the church. So that's, again, slightly more relevant. Like, if you're in somebody's house, it's best to, like, double check that you can record. So this is a list of things to look for and document if there is an ICE action going on. So at somebody's house, does ICE have a warrant signed by a judge? And did they show it to the person who's at risk of detention? Did they force entry into someone's home or detain someone at their home without a warrant? In public, does ICE have one of their own administrative warrants for the arrest? And did they show it to the person at risk of detention? Did they detain somebody without the warrant? Where are actions taking place? Is this occurring in a sensitive location, which I'll list later, but includes like schools, hospitals, churches? Was any property searched? And was there a warrant for a property search? Did you get the names or badge numbers of ICE officers? Is ICE dismissing medical or child care concerns? Is ICE threatening or harassing witnesses? Has ICE called police? Is ICE engaging in any sort of abusive behavior relating to gender and or sexual orientation of people detained or witnesses? Are ICE officers in plain clothes? How many officers are there? What's the tone of ICE's communications with the people who may be detained? Does ICE appear to be engaging in racial profiling, which would include like standing somewhere and very clearly going up to only people who had brown skin? Is there any violence or physical contact occurring? What kind? By whom against whom? Is ICE threatening to use or deploying any kind of weapon? And the thing I would add here actually is ICE communicating to the person at risk of detention in a language that they can understand? Because I actually am not sure about the law on that particular element, but it definitely is relevant that if ICE is talking to somebody in English and they can't understand English and they're not communicating to somebody in another language and that person is therefore not cooperating because they don't understand that's worth like recording so that it can be clear that the person didn't understand what was going on.
Would this be considered someone's home? Or it's not public, it is a sensitive location, but for the purposes of this guidance, is it at someone, are we?
Yeah, so I think that ICE would need a warrant signed by a judge, I think, because it's private property. And so that applies also, the warrant signed by a judge applies to entering and searching any private resident, or any private, it would apply to a business as well, and it applies to anywhere that's not like a public, courthouse or street corner or whatever. I don't know if folks have other information or if that seems right.
I know if it's a business that's open to the public, like a supermarket, they don't have to have, they can walk into a supermarket thing.
That's true.
Back rooms might be off limits, but the...
Yeah, I was thinking more like a factory.
Yeah, something like that, right.
Supermarket is true, that if it's open to the public, ICE can walk in. So again, it's like if there were open church services, then there's no reason that ICE couldn't come in as a person going to church.
But we've been told by Carl Kruger that if someone comes here without the intent of church business, which looking for someone in sanctuary would not be church business, then they could be considered trespassing because they have nothing to do with what's going on here. So,
yeah.
So,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So generally, I think it's worth asking if they, I'll send a video to you all when I email you, but there's this one video of somebody doing this sort of ICE watching in Oregon who is just following ICE and said, where's your warrant? Where's the warrant for this arrest? Do you have a warrant? Why aren't you showing a warrant? And I think that sort of thing is really helpful, regardless of whether you're in public or in a private situation. ICE is really awful about showing people's warrants because they usually don't have a warrant, and even if they do, it's often the wrong kind of warrant. And so really being clear, asking them repeatedly, where's the warrant? Why are you detaining this person? What are you doing? Is both useful in highlighting like what's going on in the situation, and I think also useful in sort of reminding ICE that you know what's going on and you're asking for the things that they should be able to show you. I guess that's sort of an addendum to like how close to stand to ICE, that obviously if you don't feel comfortable doing that kind of thing, don't, but I would say one of the things that often, you know, is like totally legal and allowable is to say like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? This is wrong. And often, like there's a lot of videos of people also saying like, don't you have a family? Like what's going on here? And there's nothing illegal about that. And I think that if that's something you're comfortable doing, that like that can be, it's not probably going to stop them from doing anything, but others it can highlight like in a video what ICE is doing wrong. This is just a set of warnings and reminders, again, slightly more relevant outside of this setting, but nobody is arrest proof, so when we send people to do this, we say like, if you yourself have reasons that it would be particularly bad for you to get arrested, so if you have an outstanding warrant or your own set of immigration concerns, that it's just important to be aware that obviously like putting yourself intentionally in contact with law enforcement can put you at higher risk for arrest. That said, this is like not a particular risky thing to do and is definitely something that I think is worth doing. If your phone is seized, here you should probably reach out to somebody on the steering committee, or you can call the ACLU, or you can call me and I can put you into contact with the ACLU. But your phone shouldn't be taken. One thing that I advise everybody, and we would more advise everybody sort of in general, is that your phone have a like passcode lock and not the touch lock, and that it have a lock at all, because there's been a few different cases that have basically come to the conclusion that law enforcement can force you to open your phone and they can look at the contents of your phone if you just have a touch lock on your phone, or if you don't have a phone lock at all. But if you have to enter a passcode to unlock your phone and that's the only way you can unlock it, then like on the spot, you know, police or ICE couldn't force you. Well, ICE wouldn't have jurisdiction over somebody who is didn't have immigration concerns, but like police could not force you to open up your phone and show them any video that you've taken, or could not take your phone and do that. They can't take your phone anyway. But that's just like a small security measure that, again, when we like send people out to do this, we recommend that they have a passcode on their phone, and that they disable like full text messages from coming up on their phone, particularly if they're messaging with people about, like we usually have message threads about if we're sending a couple people and somebody to give a ride to somebody to an ICE check-in, we ask them not to have the messages like appearing in full on their lock screen, because again, like if for any reason you were arrested for doing ICE watching, then police could look at all of the text messages in their full text on the screen of your phone. And theoretically you're not doing anything wrong, but it's still like important to protect your information in that way. These are again more relevant if you're going. Also, I mean, if you, I'll send this out in the email, but if you would like to like receive opportunities to go to ICE check-ins with people, or court accompaniment or whatever, after you've gone through this training, we can add you to the list of people who do that with them more and more regularly, because there's, I would say like maybe 3 or 4 times a month we have requests from our clients to have somebody go to court with them or somewhere with them.